Eliakim was a man of great responsibility, chosen during a time of crisis in the kingdom of Judah. He lived in the days of King Hezekiah, a righteous ruler who sought to turn the nation back to God. But his time was not one of peace. It was a time of war, threats, and divine intervention. At that time, the powerful Assyrian Empire had already conquered many nations, leaving destruction in its wake. Their king, Sennacherib, was determined to bring Judah under his rule. His army was vast, his reputation terrifying. Cities fell before him like dry leaves in the wind. Now he set his eyes on Jerusalem. King Hezekiah knew the danger was real. He had tried to prepare, strengthening the city's walls, building a tunnel to secure water, and leading the people in prayer. But when the Assyrian army surrounded the city, the air was thick with fear. From the enemy camp, Sennacherib sent his most trusted commander, the Rabshakeh, to deliver a message, not just to the king, but to the people themselves. He stood at the walls of Jerusalem and called out in Hebrew so that everyone could hear. He mocked Hezekiah, scorned their faith in God, and boasted about the countless nations Assyria had crushed. Do not let Hezekiah deceive you. No God has saved any nation from the king of Assyria. Your God will not save you either. Surrender and you will live. Resist, and you will be destroyed. The people stood silent, following Hezekiah's command not to answer. But among those sent to hear this threat was a man named Eliakim. Eliakim was not a soldier, nor a warrior. He was the steward of the royal palace, a position of immense trust. He was a man of wisdom, integrity, and faith. He had been given great authority, overseeing the affairs of the kingdom and ensuring the king's household ran smoothly. But now, he faced a task greater than administration. He had to deliver these terrifying words back to Hezekiah. With torn clothes as a sign of grief, Eliakim, along with Shebna the scribe and Joah the recorder, went to the king. The weight of the message was heavy, and Hezekiah knew this was a moment that could define the future of Judah. Instead of panicking, Hezekiah turned to the Lord. He sent Eliakim and the others to the prophet Isaiah, seeking God's guidance. Isaiah's response was clear. Do not be afraid of the words you have heard. The Lord will cause Sennacherib to hear a rumor that will send him back to his own land, where he will fall by the sword. Eliakim carried this message back to the king, and Hezekiah prayed with even greater fervor. When Sennacherib sent another letter full of threats, Hezekiah laid it before the Lord in the temple, pleading for deliverance. That very night, without a single sword being raised in battle, the angel of the Lord struck down 185,000 Assyrian soldiers. When morning came, Sennacherib found his army destroyed. Terrified, he retreated back to Nineveh, where he was later assassinated by his own sons. Jerusalem was saved, not by military might but by the power of God. Eliakim remained a trusted servant, and his name is remembered as a symbol of God's choice and authority. Earlier, through the prophet Isaiah, God had spoken of Eliakim, saying, I will clothe him with your robe, strengthen him with your belt, and commit your authority into his hand. He shall be a father to the inhabitants of Jerusalem and to the house of Judah. Even more, God declared that Eliakim would be like a peg firmly driven into a secure place, a sign that he was chosen and upheld by the Lord. This prophecy had a deeper meaning. It pointed not only to Eliakim but to Jesus, the one who holds the key of David, the ultimate ruler whose kingdom will never end. Eliakim's story is one of faithfulness, wisdom, and trust in God's power. He stood in the presence of kings, heard the threats of the enemy, and witnessed the deliverance of the Lord. His life reminds us that even in the face of overwhelming odds, those who trust in God will never be put to shame.